Hello, everyone. Welcome to our segment today. My name is Elisha and I work at Owner. Today, we are joined with Stephanie and Rob from RBC Business Banking. I'm really excited to have them here for our little session. Please be sure to let our audience know who you are, each of you, and please describe what you get up to at RBC.
Steph, you want to start?
Sure, I can start. So my name's Stephanie. As Alicia mentioned, I'm a business relationship manager at RBC. I've been in the role for about 2 years now. So I started back in 2021, right in the middle of the pandemic, which was interesting for sure. So I manage a portfolio of about 215 small business clients, supporting their day-to-day banking, credit needs, etc. In this, I just support them and make sure that they get where they need to go in terms of their goals, financial goals, and banking needs, and make banking as simple as possible.
Nice. And Rob, yourself?
Yeah, similar to Steph, we do the similar roles. Well, exactly the same roles, really. My portfolio of clients is probably a little bit smaller than Steph's. I have about 150 clients that I help manage on a day-to-day basis, really focusing on not only the business banking support of our clients, but business development for them as well. Working with clients that are starting up from scratch, up to clients that have multi-million-dollar revenues. So we're working with clients really from the beginning stages of their business up into where they're kind of growing into corporations. We're working with sole proprietors, incorporated businesses, and looking for ways to help make them more successful from a banking perspective.
That is really cool. So you get to see these business owners kind of scale from the ground up, which is honestly awesome to me. I am a solopreneur and I have a sole proprietorship that I registered with Owner, which is really before I even started working here. So it is really cool to see that RBC has people who can watch you grow along the way. I think that's really awesome. So today we're actually going to be discussing how small business owners can benefit from having a business bank account, especially during tax season. I think that when people start a business, nowadays there are some books about it, but there's no real set manual, especially with prioritizing getting yourself looking legit, like having a business bank account, registering your business. These are all very basic steps that a lot of people don't actually know about. So I would love to be able to dive into some really fun topics here. But before I get into the nitty gritty of the benefits of companies having a business bank account, can you both describe what a business bank account even is?
Sure, I'll take this one, Alicia. Really, I mean, one of the big questions that a lot of entrepreneurs will ask us is, can I use my personal bank account for my business? And long story short, of course you can in the beginning. However, it can get messy. So from a tax perspective and a bookkeeping perspective, having a personal bank account mixed in with your business transactions, it can get difficult, which can add time, effort, and cost to your bookkeeping, whether you have an accountant or whether you're doing it yourself, having to sort through that trip to Harvey's versus a purchase or you know what I mean? So different transactions for the business versus personal, it can be difficult to kind of separate the two, which is why we do recommend a business bank account. A business bank account, simply stated, it's the same as a personal bank account as far as the ability to move money in and out. However, business bank accounts do have other benefits, whether that's paying employees, receiving credit card payments, which you can't do typically in a personal bank account, you can do in a business bank account. Tax time, obviously, it makes it a little bit easier if you've got things separated, and not having to sort through that personal versus business can save you time, money, and effort on the accounting side as well.
That is awesome. Yeah, I've definitely had to sort through pulling out a few Wendy's receipts out of my personal bank account when I used to use my personal bank account for my business itself. So that truly is a benefit for sure. And it's really interesting to note that, of course, payroll and other things cannot come out of your personal account. So that's a biggie as people are scaling their businesses and hiring out to be able to find success. You got to get that business bank account sorted. So.
Well, and as well, when you get to the level when you become incorporated, which is sometimes it's a next step for a business owner. Sometimes they start right off from the beginning as incorporated. You can't do your personal banking from that. Yes. So sole proprietors, yes, there can be a bit of a mix or a transition. But for incorporated businesses, it's a business bank account or nothing. So you can't have a CRA frowns very, very heavily on personal bank accounts when it comes to incorporated businesses.
Yes, that is very much true. We remind people of that all the time, especially during these live sessions. We're like, please open your business bank account when you have an incorporation. It's really important. Okay, lovely. Well, I'd love to know what are some of the most popular products that you see business owners needing when they open a business bank account? For instance, foreign currency or GICs, credit loans, etc.
Sure. Yeah, I can jump into this one a little bit. So I think the business bank account is the base. It's the first step. It's absolutely where you should begin. But in this, I'd say there's a couple products we see that are really common that I would recommend considering for your business. And of course, it's dependent on your business type, whether that's going to make sense or not. But an example of that might be something like a credit card. Credit card is great because it'll provide you access to make payments online. It provides you a little more flexibility in terms of when you have to pay for these items that you're purchasing. So it's a really good option to set up right near the beginning. Another option that I might mention would be something like overdraft or an operating line. So these are credit products, sort of like a loan that just provides you a little extra flexibility. So as a business owner, you want to make sure you're never issuing payments that are going to bounce, checks bouncing, et cetera. That's nothing that you want to deal with. So having something like an overdraft or an operating line is going to prevent that from happening. And so we see that being really popular, especially for businesses that are a little more varied in terms of their income. It's not as consistent. Having something like this set up can really just bridge those times where you don't have as much income coming in. And then the last item that I'd say, and that's usually once the business has grown a little bit more, you have extra sort of money sitting in your account that's not being used. It's always a good idea to consider, how can I earn some interest on these funds? So when you think about that, earning interest is just pretty much free money. The bank will give you money for holding deposit. So GICs are something that's really popular. A savings account as well. So a secondary bank account just meant for savings is something as well that's really popular. These are things that I'd mentioned that are definitely worthwhile to consider to see if you can earn a little interest on the funds that you're holding, rather than them just sitting in a checking account where you're not sort of benefiting off them at all.
That is awesome. Yes, I think that a lot of people don't actually realize that you can get more than a checking account as a business owner when you're approaching a bank to open up an account with them, and that there's so many other benefits, like you mentioned too, with having a GIC. You can make money from the money that you're making in your business bank account as well. I even know people who have great business credit and they were able to utilize their business credit. They didn't have really good personal credit. They had great business credit and they were able to make some pretty great moves in their lives in the future by showing, things were kind of messed up in their personal credit, but they are able to maintain great credit for their business. They were able to prove that to the bank as well too. So I found that very interesting as well, that connection can also be made. As well, I wanted to get into that because I kind of already gave a little hint, but can a business bank account help companies build their credit? And if so, what are some of the benefits of doing so?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alicia. And a lot of people don't realize that while a business bank account itself isn't really a credit building tool, right? But like when you think about building your credit, you're thinking about paying your bills on time, using credit cards and things like that. And really that's the best way to build your credit. But you need to be able to get those products. Like Steph was mentioning, credit cards, lines of credit, overdraft protection. Those are products that you can't get unless you have that business bank account.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say, yes, the business bank account does help you increase your credit for the reasons that you need that account and you need to be able to show a 3 to 6 month history with an account like that before you typically are looking for credit cards, lines of credit, overdraft protection, loans even. And so it's really important to get that business bank account in place right away, get some deposits in there, start doing the business through that account, show that you can make payments out of that business account without NSFing, without writing bad checks, essentially. Don't write more than in your account, because when it comes time to kind of apply for credit, the last thing that the bank's going to be happy about is seeing that you're writing checks with money that you don't have. So starting with that business banking account and using it and creating that history with it will start your road to getting the extra credit that you need to build up your reputation with your business in the bank.
Yes, that is so important. And the friend that I had mentioned, she was able to actually receive a loan from the bank to then open up a brick and mortar store, which she didn't have the capital for at the time, but she had her business for maybe 5 or 6 years or so. And the money in and the money out really had proven to the bank that she had a successful business herself, even if her own personal credit wasn't something she was able to use to open a brick and mortar store for her company. She was able to use her business credit to then get a loan for the future, which is awesome to show that you can build a great relationship with your bank by really not just by running a great business, but by just having really clean records, which I think is really important. It's awesome. Well, I wanted to kind of just take a moment here to give a mini break to let people know that before we continue, you should absolutely follow us, subscribe, or like us wherever you're watching this video to get more content like this on how to grow and start your business. So let's dive into our next question here. I'm really curious about this one. How can a business bank account assist people with maintaining accurate bookkeeping, especially for tax season?
Yeah, so I guess I can start off here. Rob can always jump in and add if I'm missing anything, but I think he touched on this a lot in the beginning. When you're separating out your expenses between your personal and your business expenses, and you're making payments from the correct accounts, it makes it a lot easier to split these things up when it comes to tax season. If everything's mixed into one and you're looking back on this a year down the line and you're trying to determine, oh, was that actually something I paid for on my business? Was that something I did personally? It's going to get a lot more messy. It's going to be a lot more complicated, and it's going to take a lot more time. And one thing that we do know as business owners is you don't have a lot of time. You don't want to be spending extra time that's not needed in order just to sort of sort out which expenses go where. And same for your accountant. If you're hiring an accountant, you work with an accountant, which I would absolutely recommend, that's helping you with your taxes. You want to make it as simple as possible for them so that they're easily able to identify what goes where and file the taxes correctly, avoid any potential penalties from the CRA, and make sure everything is clean and concise.
That is so important. I definitely do agree with that for sure. Like on my side of things, because I had a sole proprietorship, I did wait to open that business bank account because I wanted to have a certain amount of cash flow to be able to pay for my business bank account as well and not have it come out of my own personal fees. So once I was kind of breaking even, I was like, okay, it's time for that business bank account. Really excited about this. And because I did that, my records are just so much easier to parse through. Sending my information to my accountant for my taxes are just way better because I've been a solopreneur for many years with different businesses. But this has been the easiest process to just open my business bank account, look at my fees, look at what I paid, look at what I did. And now I also have a business credit card from RBC too, and just being able to see it all there and not have to flip back and forth between different screens and emails. And I literally just felt like a secret agent every time I wanted to file my taxes because I'm going to like 20 emails and bank accounts. And it was just a lot. I genuinely felt like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, but this year that is not the case. So I definitely do agree that there is such a big benefit to it. So I'd love to know too, and once again, I kind of did a little bit of foreshadowing there in terms of like the fees associated with opening business bank account, but I'd love to know, what do the fees usually look like for a business bank account? Not necessarily exact numbers, but what can somebody expect to see in their accounts once they open up their business bank account?
Sure. And there's a lot of different things that you can do with your bank account that can either make your fees a little more expensive or less. What we do at RBC is we try to find the most common activities that people do, and we try to create kind of a bundled approach where we've got a business bank account that covers most of the things that you would do, whether that's ATM deposits and withdrawals, whether that's wire transfers, whether that's e-transfers, electronic transfers, payroll, things like that. So we'll have accounts, and most institutions will have accounts that will be kind of basic accounts where here's your basic savings account. There's no cost to have it open. However, if you do cash deposits, ATMs, transactions, whether that's at the branch, at the ATM, wire transfers, email transfers, you'll be getting nickel and dimed, and you'll see those costs go up. However, then if you say, okay, well, we're looking at a business account that incorporates a little bit more than just the basic freebie account or free account, we'll look at an account that's $5 or $10 a month, but that will include a lot of the things that you would be doing. Now, that being said, there is no account on the planet that covers everything. So you're looking at $5 or $10 a month that covers most of the things. But if you go to the branch and do a wire transfer, for example, there's going to be a fee. If you do online wire transfers, which some institutions give you the ability to do, some don't. At RBC, we can do that as well. There's still a fee, but it's a smaller fee. So there's different fees for different things. Long story short, though, it really depends on the complexity of your business, how much you're doing. If you're a small business growing, that you're really just dealing with accounts receivables, accounts payable, and maybe some payroll, you're not going to be seeing many charges besides your monthly fee. When you start dealing with foreign currency, wire transfers, branch deposits, or you're doing an exorbitant amount of ATM withdrawals that goes above the maximum that the bank may set up for you, you may start seeing little bits of extra fees. One of the things that we do as relationship managers is we monitor that. For someone like yourself, Alicia, when you were a solopreneur, when you're doing a sole proprietorship, sometimes we would recommend even just starting with a savings account. Because if you're not going to be doing a lot of transactions at all, and maybe this is a part-time gig or a side gig, maybe all you're doing is 1 or 2 deposits a month and maybe 1 withdrawal. Even if we're doing the ad hoc or a la carte kind of menu, that may only end up being $1.50 a month. Now, when you start adding 10 payments, 15 payments, a few withdrawals, a couple wire transfers, if we leave that a la carte savings account as a free account, you could be paying $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month. So before it gets to that point, we try to, on a monthly basis, look with our clients and look at their accounts and say, okay, well, you're starting to do a few more transactions. You're starting to get busier. Let's change that savings account to a checking account, or add a checking account in addition to your savings account. And like Steph was saying earlier, you've got that savings account. So if you've got extra cash, rather than just leaving it gaining nothing, leave it in the savings account and get a couple percent. Or look at other products that we can do, like a GIC or a cashable GIC that provides some flexibility to the clients as well.
That is super smart and very important. And I even knew as well too, as my business had built credit, I then received like just an alert from RBC saying, hey, you qualify for a credit card. Like, would you like to be able to receive this? Because I have like an extended relationship with the bank through my business. That's where I opened my business bank account. And I said yes to that. And that also even helped me with saving for transaction fees, because I'm now using my credit card and not my business debit card for a lot of those transactions as well too. So there's just so much benefit of kind of playing the long game and waiting up until your business really is successful. You've built that level of credit. And on my side of things, exactly like you mentioned, it is just like a part-time side gig. I only work with a few clients here or there, but I still was able to build enough credit with the bank through my business to then be able to receive a business credit card and then transfer some of that heavier lifting that my debit card was doing in the past over to my credit card, which is really cool to do.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. Are you able to let me know where people can actually learn more about getting a business bank account with RBC and what the next steps should be if they have or haven't registered their business?
Absolutely. So I think there's a few different ways that you can access information. One is just our website. So if you just look up rbc.com or just search into Google RBC business bank accounts, a ton of information is going to come up here. You can look through different options. It'll give you phone numbers to call if you want to call someone and get more information or you have any questions. That's a great sort of first place to start. Another option is just going into any RBC branch. If you walk into a branch, you're going to find a great amount of people just there willing to help you, willing to have a talk and discuss sort of what options might be out there, what you need to get going, et cetera, and help you along that process. So I'd say that those are the two main areas to get the information. The website, in person. You can also contact one of us. You have our names now. You can find us, I'm sure. Always happy to help.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining us during this fireside chat. It was so lovely chatting with both of you. I learned a lot for my business. That's why I love doing these. Like, I just use them as my chance to learn more for my business, and then I can kind of Google things later and do them. It's very self-serving. But once again, thank you so much for joining us with this fireside chat with RBC Banking with Stef and Rob. Please be sure to join us next week for another chat where we chat about actually filing your taxes and the full process of preparing your own business to make it the smoothest like transition possible as you're going through all of your records. Thanks again, everyone, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.